Escaping to the outdoors is the best way to forget about the hustle and bustle of our daily lives. With Georgia's varied landscape, there is a nature-friendly getaway for everyone. We'll take a hike to a backcountry inn, cruise on a coastal meander, and take in some breezy barrier island charm. Next on Georgia Outdoors.
Funding for Georgia Outdoors has been made possible by a grant from Mary Hall Singleton and by the Imlay Foundation.
From the ocean to the mountains, Georgia offers anyone and everyone an opportunity for a natural getaway. Fortunately, there are a few places that are doing their part to conserve the environment while serving their guests. How about a few days on a Georgia river cruise? The Savannah Riverkeeper sponsors the coastal plain meander every year. Traveling more than 200 miles from downtown Augusta to the coast of Savannah, this 4-day voyage will have you slowing down in no time.
We take folks down the river in a 49-passenger pontoon boat, so there's plenty of space to move around. We provide meals.
Captain Walt Reppenhagen and Captain Michael Neal have been chartering the coastal plain meander for the last 3 years, but they like to think of it more as an expedition.
The Savannah Riverkeeper calls the trip the Coastal Meander, and we call the trip the Savannah River Expedition. And we truly view it as an expedition where we have not a lot of resources along the river. We have to take things with us, and we don't have fuel supplies. There's no big towns on the river to stop.
Passengers can choose to ride for 1 day, but many opt to enjoy the entire 4-day adventure. Each night, guests have the option of camping on a riverside landing or staying at a nearby lodge. This expedition, or meander, whichever way you look at it, provides catering and friendly staff to serve passengers full meals. Although eating is a necessity, this trip focuses on enlightenment as well.
That's one of the river gauges, basically, for the area.
The Savannah River history is just tremendous. There's a lot of trade that went on, and the only way we could move commerce with large volume was on our rivers. We had cotton. Cotton was king. And the advent of steamboats really allowed that commerce to really explode, because you could bring large volumes of goods from Augusta down to Savannah.
You can see that the lines are really close together right here along the riverbank.
As a volunteer, Karen Graney offers her expertise on the biodiversity of the Savannah River. Karen's interactive education adds a hands-on experience for guests along the way.
There is a lot of biodiversity all over the southeast, and the Savannah River is no exception. There's 118 fish species currently living in this river. It's important for us to come out here and learn what we've got so that we'll be motivated to do what we need to do to protect what remains of the biodiversity in this area.
The bridges you see ahead of us, the first one is the 5th Street Bridge.
Leading this protection movement is Frank Carl, the active director of the Savannah Riverkeeper, a nonprofit watchdog for this watershed.
The Savannah Riverkeeper is an advocacy group that advocates for water quality in the Savannah River and its watershed. That involves keeping an eye on the Savannah River and finding out where pollution sources are, where sediment sources are, and trying to minimize those sources. A group of us originally got together to discuss the kinds of things that the river needed in order to make it a better waterway, a waterway that had more attention paid to it. We decided that the best mechanism for getting there was to educate people about the river and get people interested in the waterways of their communities so that they could help keep those waters clean. And the other thing I want them to do is I want them to enjoy the trip.
People along for the ride span generations and backgrounds. On this trip, for example, passengers include doctors, a master gardener, a journalist, and even a few characters.
My husband read about this in the newspaper, so we signed up for the trip, and it was very easily done, and everybody was very accommodating that was involved with arranging this trip.
It was a friend of mine who wanted to take the trip, and they were not able to come, and I decided, with you or without you, I am going. This is almost a once-in-a-lifetime type adventure, and I want to be a part of it.
I thought it felt like a really exciting adventure. It's like going down a path less taken in a way.
I think the people going on the coastal plain meander because they're interested in the river, what it's like on the water. Most of the way is wooded area. It's fairly pristine and there's no real access to the river, so the best way to get to it is by boat.
Regulated by a major dam, the Savannah River is no longer free-flowing. But beyond these floodgates, there are some undeveloped stretches, and passengers can only wonder what adventures lie ahead.
The coastal plain meander starts in Augusta, and we go through the lock at Augusta, which is the last structure that hinders boating on the river. From there on, it's a relatively natural river.
The new Savannah Bluffs Lock and Dam appears to hold the pontoon captive. Water levels and the boat drop 12 feet to meet the depth of the remaining stretch of river. The boat is then released and can continue on all the way to the ocean.
Some of the highlights we see on the river are Shell Bluff. Shell Bluff is famous for its content of seashells, and it was actually the ocean front at one time, and a large deposit of seashells can be found on the bluff.
Stops along the way allow guests to stretch their legs, enjoy natural flowing artesian wells, or give a try at some fishing. Some of the most awe-inspiring features of this natural river aren't natural at all.
Of interest on the river as well are the nuclear facilities. Plant Vogtle is a nuclear power plant on the river, and it uses a large amount of water as cooling water for the nuclear power plant.
Going by little pieces of industry along the way is kind of interesting to see the contrast. We go by Plant Vogtle, we go by an electric plant that has a little waterfall outflow. And yet most of the time we're just totally in nature. Normally folks bring their binoculars and their cameras so they can get good wildlife photography.
The stars of the show are the great blue heron, who leads the trip, gliding over the water with a tremendous 6-foot wingspan. And the American alligator, who, as an ectothermic or cold-blooded reptile, uses the sun to heat its body and the water to cool down.
So it's a great exploration, great time out on the water, seeing things that most people never get a chance to see.
The third and final night of the trip, everyone slept at the historical community of New Ebenezer. Founded in 1736, the church here is the oldest public building in the state of Georgia. The following morning, some early risers venture out onto Ebenezer Creek in canoes. This haunting tributary winds through an impressive stretch of cypress forest, featuring some trees dating back over 1,000 years. As the trip comes to an end, passengers think about what brought them on this journey in the first place.
I really did enjoy you.
I'm here with my father. This is our latest adventure. It's been really nice to be so remote for this many days. You can see that remoteness in the mountains, but to see that along a river is amazing. It's a unique experience.
When you're out here just going down the river and we see something interesting and you've got an expert right there on the boat with you, they'll tell you everything to know about it. I love it out here. It's great. Just seeing how life's supposed to be.
I'd like them to walk away with a little bit of knowledge about the natural history of this river and of this region. Some people, I think, know more about exotic places that they watch on nature programs and less about a lot of the really fascinating things that are right in their own area.
It's great to be outside doing anything with the boys, but it's especially fun to be on the water and on the boat. And it's a little bit like Mark Twain, just life on a raft.
Across the state and well above sea level sits a getaway of a very different elevation. At the southern terminus of the Appalachian Mountains, the Linfoot Hike Inn offers conservation-friendly hospitality to anyone willing to take a hike.
This way.
Every guest that stays at the Hike Inn must first check in at Amicalola Falls State Park and begin the hike from there. But don't rush. Amicalola Falls is an attraction in itself as the highest cascading waterfall east of the Mississippi River.
There's only about a 500-foot elevation gain from the state park to the inn itself. You have 5 miles to relax and kind of unwind as you're hiking into the inn. Once you get here, the staff will ask that you turn off all cell phones and pagers and enjoy being in the middle of a wilderness. The inn was named after Linfoot. He was a conservationist here in Georgia. He did a lot of work with wildflowers here in the state, and he was an avid wildlife photographer, and it was a way for the state of Georgia to honor him by naming a conservation-based inn after him.
Mr. Linfoot died in 1989, so he never got to see the Backcountry Inn completed 9 years later. But he would be proud to know how well the guests here are treated.
When the guests arrive at the Linfoot Hike Inn, they are given a linen bag. It has all their sheets, towels that they're going to need for their stay, so you don't need to pack in a sleeping bag or sheets or towels. We offer accommodations for all our guests. We have bunk rooms for the guests to stay in, a bathhouse with hot showers. We provide dinner and breakfast for all our guests as well. And we also have common areas and lounges for the guests to recreate in. The rooms are modest. There are 2 bunk beds per room, a small changing area, and an area to hang packs and some of your clothes. We encourage all of our guests to get out and enjoy the environment while they're here, and also to meet other guests in our common areas.
The inn has a special designation of being LEED certified. LEED stands for Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design, a top honor for conservation-focused facilities. In charge of educating guests about these earth-friendly practices at the inn is Sandy Straw, who leads the facility tour every night.
I'll tell you a little bit about the history of the inn, and then we'll go outside and I'll show you all the conservation methods that help us make the hike in. Throughout the property, we have native plant gardens, and I've been watering them using the rainwater we've caught via our rainwater catchment system. Since we have elevated buildings, we've attached a plastic chain to the gutter, and all the rainwater will trickle down this plastic chain and collect into our 55-gallon rain barrel. From the back of the circle, there'll be a starburst effect. Starbase is our celestial calendar, and twice a year on the equinox, where there's equivalent day and night, the sun will rise exactly due east along this invisible rock line. So during the course of the year, and depending which direction the sun's rising, you can tell the different seasons.
Creativity is a key factor in conservation strategy, even when it comes to plumbing.
The most unique feature that we have is a composting toilet system. It's a flushless system, saves us approximately 150,000 gallons of water a year.
It's a waterless composting toilet system. There are 5 of these large composters underneath the inn, and the bacteria from our bodies within that composter drop down with everything else, and it's called humanure. Yes, human and manure. Once it's dried out, this is when I can use it in our native plant gardens. And our soil is very, very rich because of this. And I thank you all again, because it's where we get it from.
Humans aren't the only ones helping out here, though. Garbage duty is shared by the resident earthworms, and it's called vermiculture.
Vermiculture is the act of decomposition by red wiggler composting worms. And here, underneath the kitchen at the Hike Inn, we have 4 bins going, and all these red wiggler composting worms are decomposing both our organic food waste from the kitchen and all of our office paper. What they produce is known as worm castings. I call black gold. It's excellent fertilizer for our native plants within our native plant gardens. And so far this year, we have fed them 860 pounds of organic food waste.
After the tour, guests join in an educational program. Topics cover everything from mysteries of the night to local history of the southern Appalachians. Tonight's program features snakes found in these mountains. But beyond the local wigglers and slitherers, the Hike Inn prides itself on being a very cozy retreat.
A lot of husbands will come up and say, oh, my wife could do this. There's beds and we have hot showers and there's a hair dryer in every single bathroom. We appeal to those families who are bringing their kids out for the first time backpacking ever, but your destination is a warm bed and a warm shower and a huge family-style meal. Speaking of meals, dinner tonight is at 6, and we weigh food waste. So you get to choose your portion size. In fact, if you leave any of that portion size on your plate, that's called waste, and I get to weigh it. And all 35 people for tonight have one goal, and that's 4 ounces of food waste or less. If it's 4 or less, you get a smiley face, but it's all about choosing portion size and thinking about all the food that we waste on a daily basis as individuals.
People from all walks of life are drawn to the remote allure of the inn.
I'm here with my wife, and we've been married 30-some years, and it was just an ideal getaway. This was the first time we've hiked in here, but it won't be the last.
I'm here with my son. He's on fall break this week, so we decided to sneak up into the mountains for a few days, and we've had just a tremendous time.
It was lots of fun. I think it would have been fun with the family though, because then we could all talk and just talk about family stuff.
This is my first chance to come back with my son, and we had a chance to do this week, and he likes to hike now with Boy Scouts, so I knew this would be something he would like.
There was a group of older women, of which I was part, and just came up here to just be in God's creation. It was just beautiful.
The designers of the inn definitely had the guests in mind when building the sunrise room and deck. Facing the eastern horizon, dawn here is spectacular enough to lure most everyone out of bed.
You don't have the hustle and the bustle of town, and you don't hear cars or no televisions, no phones ringing or anything like that. You're back to nature. It's the way it should be.
We'll see families coming back up together to kind of reconnect, especially after a busy work week with the kids going to different practices in the school and the parents busy at work.
You know, it's literally an hour's drive outside Atlanta, so you could come up, you know, just for one night, and it doesn't require too much planning, so it's easy to get to and great place to come to.
I think this would be a real good getaway for people because I think it would take you back and make you just slow down, take a breath, not be so rushed all day. When we're in our normal life, we're always on a schedule. Always got to do this, always got to be there, always got to do that. And here it's just kind of, I don't have my watch on. Let's look at the sun and see if we can tell what time it is.
It's just great energy as soon as you get up here, and it's a great place to relax. Definitely recommend coming for more than one day.
The beauty and solitude of the Linfoot Hike Inn make it easy for guests to come up and relax, but it's hard for them to leave.
Protecting our resources requires effort from everyone. There are lots of ways you can do a little to help a lot. Here are a few ideas that you can begin with right in your own home. Putting aerators on all your faucets can save up to 50% of water waste, and so can low-flow shower heads. Replace your regular incandescent light bulbs with compact fluorescents. They use at least 2/3 less energy but output the same amount of light and can last 10 times longer than regular bulbs. This means big savings. Recycle. Most metals, papers, and plastics can be used and reused, and avoid styrofoam as much as possible. For more energy-saving tips, visit these websites.
For a seaside getaway, head south to Jekyll Island, considered by many to be Georgia's jewel.
It's a great getaway because it's off the beaten track a little bit. It's just not the hustle and bustle of other places that are a little more developed. So it's just great, the natural beauty of the place.
Run by the state of Georgia and the Jekyll Island Authority, people have access by way of car, but many choose to experience the island by way of foot or bicycle.
It's easy to enjoy the natural aspects of Jekyll. There's a bike path all the way around, 22 miles of bike path. Jekyll's a magical place, and I think anyone who comes here wants to come back.
Helping to preserve this beauty and showing it off is a big task, but one resort on Jekyll aims to do just that. As a member of the Green Hotels Association, the Villas by the Sea has been making some changes for the better.
Villas by the Sea is a condo hotel. It's probably one of the first condominium hotels in the United States. It was established about 30 years ago. They have a full kitchen, a couple baths, a couple bedrooms, some beautiful views. Could be your home away from home.
Bob Schreiber is the head of maintenance around the villas and one of many helping keep this island green.
We entered into the Green Hotel program about 3 years ago. It's great for the environment. A lot of people now are searching out more environmentally safe and friendly hotels and establishments. We all have to be conscious of the environment. People's really starting to be aware of that. In the villas we have trash containers the guests use for only the recyclables. Our guests are very willing to use those. They're just happy to help out.
In addition to recycling, the Villas by the Sea uses biodegradable cleaning supplies and recycled paper products. But one change brought about saving the environment and something else green.
The compact fluorescent bulb, you get the same light emitted for a much lower wattage. Most of the wattages that we use here on the property are 20 watt, but they put out equivalent to 60 and 75 watt light. We noticed almost a $2,000 drop in our monthly electricity bill. That's a lot of money.
The Villas by the Sea offers front row seats to another light show. With direct access to the north end of the island, many visitors have a chance to walk Driftwood Beach, and sunrises here are marvelous. From deer to alligators, wildlife lovers have plenty of viewing opportunities, but it's the shorebirds that bring people out in flocks. Guiding groups on what she calls a morning bird ramble is Lydia Thompson, a proclaimed bird ambassador.
My Thursday morning bird ramble, which is basically an introduction to birding on Jekyll Island. I like to call it a ramble because I have a laid plan, but the birds kind of lead us. And a pelican coming back. We generally see about 40 to 50 species of birds during the morning. And it's very relaxed. I like people to bring their cameras and we photograph through my scope.
From these shorebirds to the beloved loggerhead sea turtle, this island is a vital necessity for feeding, nesting, and raising young.
Sea turtles come in and lay their eggs and we get to see them hatch, and we might not see them for 10, 15 years till they get big enough and they'll come back. What a privilege to see an ancient animal haul out of the ocean and continue its life.
Another privilege is to get a closer look at Jekyll's treasures from the water. And nobody does it better than the Tidelands Nature Center, located on the south end of the island.
We're going to be doing some kayaking today. We do trips out into the salt marsh where we talk about marsh ecology and birds and wildlife, and hopefully we'll see some neat stuff. Typical trip is about 3 hours. We start out on an enclosed pond behind our nature center. We will do some basic paddling instruction for folks that haven't done a lot of paddling before. From there we go out actually into the salt marsh. We paddle up some different tidal creeks. We might see oyster beds. We see a lot of good bird life out there. We see some neat marine life. We see dolphins a lot. The reason that we're here with the 4-H program and Tidelands is to educate people. We like for people to be able to come here and learn a little bit about what they're seeing.
Whether you're kayaking, biking, rambling, or just enjoying the ocean breeze, Jekyll Island is the perfect place for a natural getaway.
Get out of your car, go for walks on low tide, go to the Driftwood Beach just up the way. We're trying to keep it a secret, but people just keep on coming, so good for them. It's a great spot.
Jekyll is really one of the treasures we have here in Georgia, and the natural areas are what make it a treasure. I get people who come in here every day and tell me that we love Jekyll Island, we hope that it never changes, because what we love about Jekyll Island is the fact that there's so much beautiful, natural, unspoiled area here.
There are so many islands up and down the East Coast where the public cannot step foot on the beach. It is all private. And the total opposite is here. It is all public, and it belongs to everybody.
No matter what corner of Georgia you plan to visit, there's an ideal escape for everyone. The hardest part is deciding where.
Funding for Georgia Outdoors has been made possible by a grant from Mary Hall Singleton and by the Imlay Foundation.